Yesterday we had a rally. The Nader Gonzalez campaign had a rally in Wall Street, not just to protest the notorious $700 billion bailout on the backs of taxpayers for the swindles and speculations of the Wall Street bosses, but to demand when Congress comes back that they significantly revise this bailout law so that they re-regulate the financial services industry, provide more authority to shareholders to control the excesses of the bosses who run their companies, and to make the speculators pay for their own bailout. This is a central point in the Nader Gonzalez campaign, that here in New York State, consumers can walk into stores to buy furniture, clothing, appliances, and they have to pay an 8% sales tax. But Monday morning, a broker can purchase $100 million of Citibank futures and pay no sales tax. That is unfair, and it has to be changed. A 0.1% sales tax on $500 trillion of derivatives trading, which is what the estimate is this year, will produce $500 billion to make the speculators pay for their own bailout. That is what the Nader Gonzalez campaign and the millions of people who support us will demand from their members of Congress when Congress returns after the election or early next year. The corporate crime wave in this country must be confronted with a strong measure of law and order. We need a crackdown on corporate crime, fraud, and abuse that the mainstream press has been reporting day after day, week after week, year after year. Senator Obama and Senator McCain have no platform to crack down on corporate crime, fraud, and abuse, the kind that rips off consumers, that jeopardizes worker safety, that violates environmental laws, and most recently has drained or looted trillions of dollars from worker pensions, mutual funds, and small savers. The problem of heating oil, I'd like to address that for a moment. Upstate New York relies a lot on home heating oil. Heating oil prices will be up 41% higher than last year when they had set a record. And the average home in New York, the heating cost will move from $2,200 to $3,100 this year. $2,200 last year, $3,100 this year. The federal government has put $5 billion in a fund to subsidize low-income families in paying their fuel bills. I have asked the American Petroleum Institute and the 5 largest oil companies, Exxon, BP, Shell, and so on, who have made $123 billion in profits last year, to contribute another $5 billion for low-income families to pay their gouged home heating bills. I sent this letter to the Hispanic caucus and to the Black caucus in Congress and have received no response. Last year I did the same thing and I received no response. So I think we're entitled to ask, on behalf of minorities in this country, just who is representing them in Congress if their African American and Latino members of Congress are not going to do so. And I hope that people in this country will demand all members of Congress to hold up to a high standard, for once, the oil companies, and demand that they contribute what is a very modest $5 billion so people won't have to choose between freezing and eating or freezing and paying their rent in this coming winter. Okay, last point. Giant corporations have long been on a collision course with the American people. They dominate our government department by department. They say no to a living wage. They say no to full health insurance, full Medicare. They say no to the enforcement of life-saving health and safety laws. They say no to reducing the bloated military budget, which is fueling what President Eisenhower warned us about, the military-industrial complex. And they say no to a decent tax structure that shifts the burden from working families to taxing speculation, the addictive industries, the gambling industries, the corporate criminals, and pollution. It is time for politics in this country to present the voters in this country with a decent choice. And they're not getting a decent choice by the two corporate candidates, Senator Obama and Senator McCain, who have demonstrated in 3 recent debates that they are quite similar in avoiding the challenge to corporate power, which is dominating the lives of the American people, especially those giant multinationals who through NAFTA and the World Trade Organization trade agreements have been able to abandon our country, abandon the workers, ship industries to fascist and communist dictators who know how to keep workers in their place in those countries.